Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about one of the most critical aspects of a connected go-to-market motion, and that is sales handoffs. If your team doesn't adopt a consistent handoff process, you run the risk of having inconsistent data, having a lot of disconnected and ad hoc processes running at one time, and most importantly, if your customer doesn't know what's next, you risk them losing interest, deprioritizing your process, and ultimately churning as a result. So, in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to take you through an automated workflow in HubSpot step by step that you can use to transfer the information that is in your closed won sales deals to the next stage of the customer journey in onboarding or implementation. So, let's get into it. So, the first thing that we're going to do is create a workflow using deals. We're going to enroll deals in this workflow when they have a property value change of the deal stage to closed one in our sales pipeline. That pipeline might be named something different for you, but when a deal moves to close one, we want to kick off this process. And then critically here, we are going to create a branch that's going to check for all the critical things that we need to know to move on to the next stage of the journey. One note here, I would absolutely recommend putting all these same properties in required fields to move the deal to close one in your sales pipeline in the first place. But it's always nice to have a double check here. So we're checking for things like there is a deal owner for this deal, there is an amount that is known, the business goals are known. That's going to be critically important in onboarding to make sure we're lining up the experience with what the customer is actually trying to achieve. We know who the stakeholders are, and sort of a double check on that, that we have a contact associated to this deal who has this is onboarding point person property checked yes. That's going to be really important in the cases where the champion that you're working with during the sales process is not the same person as who needs to be involved to implement your solution and get going and go live during onboarding. So once we have that branch, if all of that data is available, we can move on to the first step here, which is going to be creating a renewal record in a deal pipeline. We'll talk about this separately in another video, but we're essentially going to create a new deal in a separate pipeline that is going to be for managing the subsequent renewals of this account. Notice some of the information here, like the stage that's going into 6 to 12 months, because this is an annual renewal, for example. We're seeing a deal type of renewal, which is going to be really helpful for reporting, and we're copying over the amount. We're then going to do the same thing, but this time in a ticket for onboarding or implementation. Your process may be a little bit different. You may be using deals for onboarding, but the critical thing here is copying over all of that information that has been collected during the sales process so that your team has it available during the next stage of the journey in onboarding. We can, of course, associate these records with the contacts, with the companies, and with the deals that is creating them. One thing that I'll mention here that is coming very soon is going to be the ability to add association labels for your associations between deals, tickets, deals, contacts in a workflow. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. We'll talk about that at a later date. Next, we are going to copy the amount value from this close one deal to the company record. And we're going to put that in an ARR field. This is going to be really useful for reporting on revenue and reporting on the impact of different stages of the customer journey on the revenue of an account. And then finally, we're just going to send a little celebratory message in a Slack notification. Let our team know, hey, we have a new customer who's closed. That's great. But now they're ready for onboarding. And here's what they're trying to achieve. Try to give some context. Try to build a little bit of a loop with your teams when things are being automated in workflows. The final thing is if we don't have all of the information that we need to move forward with the next step of the journey, we don't want to go ahead and just kick things over and let the next team deal with it. We want to create a task, assign it to the owner of this record in the current stage of the journey, and make sure that they can resolve that issue before they go ahead and move it on to the next step. So this automated workflow, really quick and easy to set up. But using a workflow in this way allows you to define your data, define your process, then build guardrails, build playbooks to help your team capture the information that's needed. And ultimately, on the other side of this, create a seamless, connected experience for the customer. I'll see you next time.